It's working on it. Yep, you're good.
We'll call the November Water and Wastewater Commission meeting in order. Start out with the roll call.
Engel,
Here.
Newman,
Here.
Evenal,
Here.
Pullman, Franks,
Here.
Hasberg.
Here.
Bushki.
Here. Citizens' comments? Seeing none, we'll move on to approval of the minutes, approval of the October 1st minutes. We'll take them separately. October 1st minutes, approval.
I make motion to approve.
Second.
Franks.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Approval of October 22nd special water and wastewater commission meeting.
So. I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Then we'll move on to approval of the bills, approval of the water bills from October. So we'll take a motion and a second in that discussion.
I'll make a motion.
Second. Any questions on those?
A leak on Oregon Street, am I reading this right? That total bill for restoration and the work was $35,000?
I don't think it was that much.
Oh, that's what I
What
come
do you
up
have
with
added
here.
up there? Because we had boring from,
22 and that comes to almost $35,000.
it could be, I'd have to add up the totals for
I
the
had a
bills, but you
record
could
budget
very well
for
be.
main breaks for a year.
It's not a pretty one that keeps happening either, no.
Why was that so much?
We gotta put a whole new service line in. We gotta board it all under the road.
Yeah.
So it's the main,
$35,000.
I don't know what they get to board it in there.
main and service. So the main was fixed, we'd get the rest in service, and we had to.
Yeah, and I
board
realize you're there for 2 days.
Cause that had already two repairs on that already within the last 3 years.
Do you get separate invoices on them from different contractors or is it all just one?
No, they're all separate. Well, in this instance, it was all mostly.
When they bill you this, do they give you an itemized bill of how many
Yes.
people were there and how much
Yep.
they get an hour?
Yep, exact labor hours, labor per hour, machinery. I think in this one, Northwest bill was on our town and country.
No, I just was curious, it seemed like.
Well, on the detail, is that in line with what they've done before, and they detail it out?
Yeah, for labor hours.
Not
and what
that
we
something went up.
Yep, we had a lot of parts involved in that
I
one
know
too.
we're under concrete and on the highway, but I remember doing them lead. You'd see the bills for them, we didn't have one that was even close to that.
Well, most of those were in when we did, lead in the street or in the
Well, I mean,
private
lead
side.
that you went up to the house, and you had a couple where you had to go around the back because that's where the land and that.
So those were mostly trench. There wasn't really much for restoration work that was
I
involved.
guess I'm out of touch.
There was 2 to 3 subs in there. We had to get Fleischman in the concrete saw. We had to cut the concrete. We had to get Northwest Cable in to do the boring. There's a lot of subs involved. There's a lot of work involved in that project.
Actually, I think our most complicated lead removal and the most expensive was 26,000.
Yeah.
But that involved boring too and through hillside through 2 streets, so that was an ugly one.
Hopefully that's the last time you have to dig in that area.
Yep.
Any other questions on the water bills? Not, we'll take roll call on that.
Engel,
Aye.
Newman,
Aye.
Evenal,
Aye.
Franks,
Aye.
Hasberg,
Aye.
Bushki.
Aye. Next is approval of wastewater utility bills from October. So we'll take a motion in a second and we'll have discussion.
So moved.
Second.
Any questions on the sewer bills? Wastewater bills? If there's no questions or comments, we'll take roll call on that.
Engel.
Aye.
Newman,
Aye.
Evenal,
Aye.
Franks,
Aye.
Hasberg,
Aye.
Bushki.
Aye. Next is the water report, which consists of the well and distribution system.
All right, hydrant flushing is almost complete. The ad is out till the 18th, but we have, I believe, 8 hydrants left and we should be finished as of tomorrow. All of the flow testing for that area has been updated as well and is in our GIS system. The lead and copper rule revision requirements by the DNR and EPA have been submitted for review. This was a 3-year project for us, allowing us to populate a good amount of the system as well. Oh. So we're done, it's submitted, it took us 3 years to, what we had to do with the DNR and EPA was a materials inventory, so we had to, the best way for us to do that was through the GIS system, so we had to know essentially what's in every street, tear through all those maps, populate it in the system, and we had to know all of the private side as well, public and private services, so we're, let's see, 4,200 entries deep right now. But it's submitted and we'll wait for their review. Everybody in the US was to do this, so I don't expect to see a response for probably a year or better to what we submitted. Scoring for wells 2, 3, and 5 was published for the Safe Drinking Water Loan Program. They do have high demand right now in that program, and our initial scoring, we did not get the principal forgiveness that we have on other projects. Greg called today, there's a bunch of information we sent him. They're going through review and seeing if they can get us to a place where we are offered principal forgiveness. We're eligible, given our scoring, for 25% is our, based on population, median household income and things like that. But we didn't score high enough to get it this time, but hopefully next month
we have to spend more money or?
Well, you don't get the grant essentially off the top, but I think we all knew that going into it. These programs are always kind of a hit and miss,
Needs basis, right?
But he was feeling pretty confident that we can do some reconfiguring and see if we can work ourselves a little higher on that list too. To date, we completed generator, HVAC, partial filter startup, all at well number 4. SCADA is being tied in from other locations right now from the rest of the remainder of the water facilities. Holding tank there was clean. That we previously used it to discharge to the river. It's been replumbed to go back to sanitary as the DNR wishes. Our crew cleaned that out about 4 hours. Probably took them to get all the
That's the
air
first
out of the
time that's ever
bottom.
been done?
I don't know, Mike, did
No,
we-
we did that.
You have?
Yeah,
Okay.
we did that.
Okay, so it doesn't take long to collect. And the DNR completed inspection on that yesterday on site, and once we have that report, we'll review as well. So they did their on-site startup. The only thing they did give us is that we will be required additional sampling next year for iron, but it's gonna be at all of our locations, so. Twice a
Why'd you
week.
have to cut a hole in that nice new asphalt?
Somebody buried a valve. I know, we didn't want to touch it, but somebody buried a valve that we couldn't.
When are we going online there?
The dates are kind of going back and forth right now, because right now we're waiting for the guy from Tonka to come back. It's all kind of hinging on him coming back from Minnesota, I think, for the startup. So everything has been pulled together, all the rest that I listed have been pulled together. I mean, we're talking within the next week is probably the goal.
Did we test pump the well yet?
Yes, yep,
Everything's A-okay?
yep, televised it, no bridges,
Yeah.
nothing concerning to
What's
it.
our GPM coming out of there, any idea?
688,
680? That's more than what we got before.
so acid, I think they acid washed or acid cleaned.
Acid
and-
wash, the air bursted,
Mhm.
That's
they brushed
what
and flushed
they're-
it, we got 2 safe samples out of it.
When do we have to sample for radium there?
Well, it depends what our monitoring schedule will come out with from the DNR.
They don't have it, I think usually closer to like late December, she gets it. she
Yeah,
gets it
we'll get it by January.
Pump is still set at 120 feet? Or did
Yep.
it change that?
Nope, left it right where it was.
We must have tested that well for radium in the past.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It was creeping up a little bit, we were like, yeah, 3.8, 3.9 last time. I mean,
What's the
it's
limit?
5. But
Because the more GPM you're gonna pump, the higher your reading.
We got a 688 GPM, but we don't run it wide open.
Mhm.
We slow it at DFD down, we run it at about 56%. So we pump about 645 to 650 a minute. So always got a little room to give her a little bit more.
And that's all gonna be integrated into the SCADA system too, for with the VFDs and the pumpage rates and things like that, so we're sitting pretty good.
Did we test the automatic backwashing on this yet?
Partially, so we're halfway there.
Got some
Couple
bugs.
That's all
cycles.
through Kavita. I mean, he was here for 3 days, right, Cody? 4 days? Looking it up, adjusting, making adjustments. We did a few things. August winter had some leaks in some pipes that have to get rerouted. And they're one of them companies, he left and went to Pittsburgh. So we were kind of like Cody said, at their mercy till they release another guy to come back here. And that may be, we're hoping next week.
Yeah.
And
And it's
you know, how long
been,
your backwash cycle is gonna take?
About the same, and it's gonna be on use, it's monitored, it's by the pressure differential, but we are required by the DNR to backwash once a week, no matter what.
minimum.
But that one having a higher iron content, if that pressure differential changes, it's gonna know to backwash it sooner,
Right.
so.
Interesting.
I think pretty minor for the hiccups we've encountered so far, I think are fairly minor compared to some of the things I've heard, but we're close.
Just a reminder too, Timmy, according to Robert's rules, just let everyone know that Commissioner Blitzky, you have to have him come in here to do any comments. We've been doing this meeting for quite some time, and I know, Tim, you have a wealth of knowledge, but according to Robert's rules, that's not the way we can do that, that he can just pipe in, because that would be a common council, anyone can come in, you and I can have a conversation back and forth, just a reminder. All right, thank you.
I don't have anything else in water.
Nothing else in water. Next is wastewater report, sewer system report discussion.
Sewer cleaning is complete for the year. We created a new system for using the wards as zones, for doing these. It seems to be working pretty good. We have completed, and this one was a little tougher one, being Forcon and Main Street. We started out with the rough traffic pattern right away, so, all good. Allen and Muzzy Streets have been submitted to the DNR for funding review as well. So those would be, I think that was a 2026, that coincides with some city funding as well on the capital improvements plan. And we will wait to see on that one. I don't think we know on that till like late spring or summer. Our funding score kind of the same as the Safe Drinking Water Program. Culligan has submitted reporting for the water softener incentive program. I don't know if you guys remember last, I think December, we submitted it for approval, and then January, we started the water softener incentive program where we offered the customer a rebate for reducing the chlorides. So far, 3 residents took advantage of the softener purchase. You're on the list. And there's an additional 2 that took advantage of the tune-up program. So Culligan takes $250 off, and then the utility has $250 that they put towards that. And they actually produce a report on the efficiencies before and after too. So with those 3 softeners, we saved 1,000 pounds of additional chlorides going into the system. So that'll be coming back next month then for approval. What we had, I looked back in our last meeting, that's one of the items next month that you were asking, Mike. But that'll come back next month for reapproval if you guys want to continue. I think the answer was we were going to give it a year and come back and review, so it'll be on for December as well. Let's see, and then we had the pre-bid for sewer facilities on October 30th. It did make a little bit of local news there as far as the traffic on Facebook, but we had absolutely a packed house. So while we normally, with engineering, we had talked about, there's usually 3 to 4 prime bidders that are submitting for any given project. we're about a year ahead of schedule. All these other plants are coming up, or we're a year ahead of planning. So we have a lot of interest, and there's a lot of people looking at that. Last I checked on day 2, we had 7 prime bidders looking at us when there's usually only 3 to 4. So hoping for it to be pretty competitive. And we had an absolute ton of people at the plant, so that's a good thing.
Yeah, really.
Anything for wastewater?
Is that it?
Oh, sorry, I can ask you that later because
Okay.
I do things like that.
Next is discussion with possible action, review discussion, WPDS system draft permit.
Okay,
This is a big one, right?
this is kind of a big one. Not that anybody finds this to be light reading at all, but, so this is our permit coming up for the next 5 years. I put all the information together and I submitted this, I believe in March. So this is the initial draft permit that we have. There wasn't a ton that we were looking at for significant changes in sampling or anything that would be costly for the utility. A couple things we did note, this draft we submitted, they first asked for factual deficiencies. So anything in this permit that isn't factually based as commentary, and then this is gonna be opened up on, I have the date here, I think it's November 12th, for public commentary. So anyone can go and make any commentary on this draft permit once this is opened up for that. And it's advertised as well. A couple things that we were able to fix, the sampling location was incorrect. So they honored that, they changed that. Wet testing, they had a sampling. If you do wet testing and we're not in permit, because they don't issue permits on time because they're lacking employees, you're supposed to continue your old permit until they actually issue it. So you very well could be running out of permit for a year before they issue your new permit, before the draft is finalized. So they had us doing 2 different monitoring cycles for wet testing. So we got them to squish it into 1. So right now, instead of doing twice a year, we'll actually see a savings on that because we did go through the significant amount of wet testing a couple years ago. So we're down to once a year. That test is extremely expensive. We basically ship giant coolers full of water to Superior, Wisconsin at an expedited price. So that'll cut down the cost quite a bit for us.
That's the fish one, right?
That's the fish, yes. If the fish gain weight, die, or otherwise.
So they don't take into account the upgrades we're making in the next couple of years there with this permit?
They do, they do. And it's
In what way?
mostly in sludge. So they did account for, let's see here. They did add that. What they're gonna need basically to account is probably in the next permit cycle after a plant is built, because they would need additional data. They always go off of, 2 to 4 years of data to make any determination. So this permit cycle will go through with our limitations, and then the Rock River has its own specific TMDL, like its own specific limitations that the Rock River can accept, and we don't get any leeway in that. So nobody along this gets that. So there's a certain level that you won't ever get any leeway on. What they did look at for, let's see, upcoming permit, they have 2 different versions of sampling for land application. So they did take into account that we would in the future have sufficient sludge storage to directly land apply and save a lot of cost that way too. So the sampling cycle reflects the amount of, how do I say that? It reflects the method of land application that we'll be doing. So instead, right now, we're paying $210,000 a year to haul 8 times a week out, and that's going to somebody else's storage tank. When the sufficient sludge storage is actually built, we're probably looking at 40 to 50 for the entire year and only hiring or hauling seasonally, so spring and fall. So that sampling reflects that as well.
Do we have to abide by any temperature requirements?
So temperature is one thing that I did email on the factual
And how do we control that? I think it's kind of out of our control. isn't it?
we've come up with some creative ideas, to
They're talking about the effluent before it
Yeah.
hits the river.
I don't think we have any control over that, so, I did do a dissipative cooling report a couple of years ago, which basically I think Nathan had started it, and then we kind of finished the reporting on that in the monitoring cycle. So we are only, instead of constant temperature monitoring, we're only required to monitor 1 year in 2028 in this permit. So of the 5-year permit, we only have to monitor temperature 1 year. So basically.
Once a week or daily?
I think temps are gonna be daily,
Oh,
but we currently do anyway. So we've been 365 days a year, we've been temperature monitoring. So one straight year
well. You
is,
monitor where in the contact chamber?
yep, just before it goes out. Some of our monitoring for lab went up a little bit. Instead of twice a week, it goes 3 times a week or 5
So
times
is
a
our
week.
phosphorus level gonna
So,
screw that up?
no, so we still have I think it's still a 1.0, but what gets us is the mass-based limitations. So we never are even close to that 1.0. So that limit we don't touch, we've never touched. But the mass-based limitation takes into account, flow. So if you have a high flow, like say our flow is, 1 million gallons one day, and then you have a phosphorus of, 0.7, you take that all times 8.34, and that flow really takes into account, they're calling it per gallon, I guess. So that when you have a high flow day and you're multiplying it by the phosphorus number, the numbers are really extreme. So if we could cut down on flows, when we have low flows, that mass-based limit doesn't really bother us too much. But the high flows really do. And then alterations to the new plant do include that, phosphorus reduction.
8.34, that's what a gallon of water weighs, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's gotta use that number.
Yeah, so that's the formula that we take that flow times mass times concentration is the formula the mass-based limit gets us. The regular one doesn't. I think everybody. But yeah, temps once a year. But testing, I got a couple tabs in here.
Well, that's where I comes into play big time.
That's where the I&I really comes into play.
2028, you said you had to do temps?
Yep, I have to report for all of
Well, the
2020.
new plan will be online by then, right?
So yeah, to answer how do you control the cooling, I have no idea.
Yeah.
I don't think that's something that,
Did you ever ask them that?
that's, I'm gonna stay on the nice side for now.
Put an ice machine in.
Yeah,
No, you don't have to.
yeah, I don't know how else.
I would think we'd be too high rather than too low. Right?
I think too high is usually what causes concern, because they've done a cooling study in another place I've worked too, and that's the bacteria growth and it kills the
We don't want
fish.
the marsh to grow algae.
We don't want that. We also got rid of our, fecal coliform limits, and so we're only doing E. coli. So we no longer have to report or test for, fecal coliform, strictly E. coli, because it is been deemed to be a better measure of public health.
And we can do that test in our lab?
Yep, Mike's all set up. They had us doing both for the last year and a half.
Fecals are only in the summer months, right? Or is
Yes.
that- Okay, right.
Yeah, so only through your disinfection season, so the same as you're running your UV disinfection. And, yeah, it's a lot of fun reading, but if anybody else got any interesting facts to point out, I feel like it was I feel like they took into account everything that we had said, and, they did change anything that we had commented on today too.
So you're looking for a motion to approve that?
I guess I don't really need an approval. I don't know what I put on the agenda there.
Possible.
Okay. Well, you never know what comes up. So more for review, but if there's anything additional that, anyone wanted to submit for commentary, the public commentary period will be opening here as well.
Anything else on the WPDS draft permit?
Courtney, how long did you work on that? How long,
On the permit,
yeah, how long did it take you to?
6 months
Not
to
a
get
big-
everything they wanted, yeah.
Sure. Yeah. Nice work.
Anything else? If not, the next meeting will be December 3rd, same time, same place. Motion to adjourn?
Motion.
Second? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.